Yo people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and over the past few years, GMT watches have been booming in popularity, and Seiko got into the game in 2022 when they released the awesome SSK GMT line, and that came with a new GMT movement as well. Since then, Seiko's just been pumping out a bunch of GMTs, and I am all for it, but since there are so many out now, I'm thinking that it would be good to figure out which ones are the best from the bunch. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 5 best Seiko GMTs that you can buy right now in 2024 in no particular order, and if you want more details on any one of these watches, I have dedicated review videos of each one, so check those out afterwards. And yeah, let's just get into it. So we have to start off with the Seiko GMT that set off a whole wave of GMTs being made from Seiko and other brands using the 4R34/NH34 GMT movement, and that's the SSK GMT, more specifically the SSK 001, which has a black dial with a red GMT hand and a pretty unique GMT bezel as well, and it wears fantastically, like 41 millimeters-ish at that. The dial itself is really great, the matte black dial is well done, and the indices are raised, and the finish is much better than what I would expect from a watch that goes for around $350 in the market right now. And then the red GMT hand, I think, is perfectly sized and proportioned for the dial it's on, because sometimes GMT hands can be a little bit too tiny or short, which makes them just not as useful. But the bezel is where it's at for me, because I would have expected an aluminum insert, which would have been fine, but it's a Hardlex insert, and the best part is that the bottom half is a sort of mirror gray finish, and it goes from being fully gray to being fully black, depending on the angle you see it, and I haven't seen this type of finish anywhere else, so yeah, I am a very big fan. Only things I'm not a fan of is the original bracelet, so there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but I just didn't feel like having a Jubilee bracelet on it. So I love Beads of Rice bracelets. I have it on a bunch of watches, and I have a bunch of actual bracelets as well. So I obviously had to get the strap code version for mine, and it's fantastic. And by the way, none of this is sponsored by strap code. I've owned many of them over the years, and way before I even started this channel, and I still love them to this day. And now we're stepping up in price point a bit, since this one comes in at $1,500, and I'm sure you can find it for less out there, but it is the Marinemaster 200 GMT, the SPB383, and I recently did a long-term review of this. Check it out if you want more details, but in it I said that if I could keep one Seiko from the 15 plus that I own right now and the other ones that I've sold before, this Marinemaster 200 GMT would be the one to keep, because it's just that good. To me, it embodies everything that makes Seiko great. First thing being that absolutely beautiful case. I think that it's easily my favorite case design of all time because of the lines that flow from top to bottom so wonderfully, and it looks good from every single angle, and it remains pure Seiko because of the way the underside tapers in, and it wears also much smaller than the 42 millimeter case width. Yeah, I can't say good enough things about it. But of course, the rest of the watch has to be good too, and it is. I love the half brush, half polished hour and minute hands, and the pale gold GMT hand is spot on because it's just a touch of color without going crazy, and it helps differentiate itself from the other hands. The indices are well proportioned, although the lume isn't as strong as I would expect Seiko's Lumi Bright to be, but it's still strong when compared to other watches. The bracelet it comes on is okay, but for me, I've had it on this FKM rubber strap from pretty much day one because it just completes that Marinemaster 300 look that I absolutely love. And now it's one that was a bit of a new experience for me, the SSK 023 Field GMT. And it was a new experience because I'm not really a huge field watch guy, but even still I am enjoying this one, and it's unique since it's the only GMT of its kind in Seiko. One of the biggest highlights for me is the bracelet, because it's a multi-link bracelet, but not like a Jubilee or a Beads of Rice, because each section is just about equal in width, and it works really well with this type of field watch, and I'm really getting IWC Mark 18 vibes with it. I just like that they did something different and they didn't just throw on a generic 3-link bracelet. Also, this thing is an absolute strap monster. It can work pretty much with any strap you have, and that's because everything about the watch head is very classic. The case is very traditional, piloty, field watchy, and the numerals and hands are also very field watchy, although the shovel GMT hand is very Seiko, and yeah, I guess Seiko just needed to make sure that people know that it's a Seiko, and also it is 20 millimeters in the lug width. And also, it's got 20mm lugs. That's a better way to say it. Overall, if you like field watches, this is a fantastic GMT option, especially around the $300 mark that you can find these at. And now to the Alpinist GMT, the SPB379. And by the way, slight tangent, what happened to the days when different collections had different reference numbers? Now every single watch within this price point is an SPB something or another, instead of having different 3 or 4 letter collections. What? Yeah, come on now. Anyways, that doesn't make it a bad watch. In fact, I really love it because I have a soft spot for my Sarbo 17 Green Alpinist, and this watch gives me the Alpinist experience while having its own look and feel in comparison, but it doesn't also deviate too much from what makes the Alpinist great. The case stays the same, thankfully, because it's one of my favorite cases that Seiko makes. There's just something about the contours of the mid case when you see it from below that looks so good, and the transition between the brushed topside and the polished sides is surprisingly good, which just adds to why I love this case so much, including the 430 compass crown, which I know many people don't like, but I absolutely love. But the main difference here is the dial. First off, I love that it's a gloss black dial because it makes the dial even more inky jet black, but the numerals are different, 12369 versus even numerals, and the bezel is different as well, brushed with a 24-hour track versus polished, and I'm glad that these changes were made because it gives this Alpinist GMT its own identity. That said, it only comes with a black leather strap with a deployant clasp, and it's okay, and I of course have it on a beads of rice bracelet, but this thing is just such a strap-on, so just take your pick with any strap and it's gonna look fantastic. And next is the Navigator Timer SPB383, and this one is a quasi honorable mention only because it's a limited edition watch, but if you want one, it's simple enough to find one at a good price. For me, this was a very special release because the original Navigator Timer caught my eye back in 2019, and I was so close to buying it, and it would have been my first ever vintage watch, and it's because it just looked so perfect to me. I mean, gray dial, rotatable bezel, and a GMT is just like, it just screams TWI. However, vintage watches scare me, for better or for worse, so I didn't get one at that time. So when this version came out, it was basically a dream come true, especially because they made it effectively a one-to-one recreation of the original, so I just had to jump on it. The dial is a huge step up compared to other Seikos because the Sunburst dial doesn't have that matte look, and the indices and logo are applied as far as I can tell, and this will be important for some folks. There is no Prospex X on the dial, which is pretty surprising because this is something that's usually saved for the more expensive SJE watches, but very nice surprise that it was at a watch in this price point. But just as a watch, it's fantastic because the bracelet is unique to this watch and it flows really well and is well finished. Although I do wish that there were more micro adjustment holes, but Uncle Straps, as always, saves us once again because I found out only very recently that he makes replacement clasp covers with extra micro adjustment holes. So yeah, check that out if you want. I'm definitely going to be buying one. And it's got a 19mm lug width, which is irritating, of course, but it stays true to the original, so I'll give it a pass this time. In the end, when I'm wearing it, it feels like it's a new old stock Navigator Timer, and if that's something that you want, then there's nothing else out there like it. So there you have it. Let me know which GMT you like the best down in the comments, and until the next video, good day.